In this video, we'll be covering keyboard shortcuts and other quick tips for using Illustrator more efficiently. We'll start off the video with some absolute basic and essential keyboard shortcuts for the beginners out there that most of you more experienced Illustrator users will already know by heart. And then we'll move into some more slightly uncommon shortcuts that some of you may or may not know. Before we get started, I would like to note that I am using a Mac system, so Windows users might have a couple slight differences in their keys. Most notably, my delete key will be a Windows backspace key, my return key will be a Windows enter key, my command key is going to be a Windows key, and my option key will be the Alt key. So to get started, let's just go over some absolute basics that everyone should know. These are the absolute essentials. Starting off, let's look at how we can quickly undo. So let's say I create this square and then I maybe move it, maybe I resize it, maybe I move it again, and then I realize I don't want to do that move anymore. I can hit Command Z on my keyboard and that will undo a move. Now undo moves at one step at a time, so if I hit it again, then it will undo that size, and I hit it again, it will undo that previous step, which was moving it again, hit it again, and I've completely erased that square. Now if you hit Command Shift Z, that will redo. And this works the same way, one step at a time. So in this way, you can quickly reverse or redo actions that you do potentially by mistake, or if maybe you're making an edit and you want to quickly toggle between that edit. Next, if you hit Command S, that will save your document. This is a good thing to just get in the habit of doing regularly while you're working. The delete key can be used to delete any object within your workspace. Next, let's look at some keyboard commands that can help with navigating around your document. If you're not using a trackpad while working in Illustrator, you can hold the space bar to bring up the hand tool and then click and drag to move around your document. You can hold the command key and use the plus and minus keys to zoom in and out. And you can hold command and 0 to refit the artboard to the screen. Next, let's look at copying and pasting within Adobe Illustrator. If you have an object selected, you can hit Command C on the keyboard to copy it, and then Command V to paste. Now let's look at copying and pasting within Adobe Illustrator. If you hit Command C on the keyboard, that will copy, and then Command V will paste. Command F, if I were to copy this shape, and then hit Command F, that will paste in place. So that's going to go ahead and paste this object right back on top of the original in the same placement. Next, we have the nudge feature. So if you have an object selected, you can use the arrow keys to nudge the object 1 pixel in any direction. Also, you can hold the shift key while nudging to move it 10 pixels at a time. This is quite helpful for doing precise moves or for spacing shapes out in a certain way. Speaking of moving objects, when you're dragging an object, if you hold the shift key, it will only allow you to drag that object on either the x-axis, y-axis, or on a 45 degree. By holding Alt and dragging, we can duplicate a shape, and by holding Alt and Shift at the same time, we duplicate a shape while moving it on either the X, Y, or 45 degree axis. If we hold Shift and click on a different object, we can select multiple objects at one time to then move or scale together. We can also click and drag on our artboard to create a selection box, and when we release, anything included in that selection box will be selected. If we hold Shift while scaling an object, it will scale that object proportionally. If we hold Alt while scaling an object, it will scale that object around the center point. Again, if we combine the Alt and Shift keys, we will scale that object proportionally and around the center point. If we have multiple objects that we'd like to group together for easy selection and manipulating purposes, we can select both of those objects and then hit Command G on our keyboard, and those objects will now be grouped. Hitting Command R on our keyboard will bring up our rulers, and with these rulers we can now click and drag from the ruler to create guides within our document. We can click and drag over these rulers to select them and hit the delete key to get rid of those rulers, or we can select a ruler individually and move it in our document. If we'd like to hide those guides to preview our design, we can hit Command semicolon, and that will toggle the guides off. If we hit Command semicolon again, it will toggle them back on. And in this way, we can easily hide and reveal our guides. If we hold Command Option and hit these semicolons, that will lock our guides so that they will not move and that they cannot be selected. This keyboard command works in the same way as a toggle, so if I were to hit Command Option semicolon again, those guides will be released. Moving into some common tools and their keyboard commands, we have the Selection tool, which is V, the Direct Selection tool, which is A, we have the Pen tool, which is P, the Type tool, which is T, the Eyedropper tool, which is I, and the Brush tool, which is B. If there's another specific tool you'd like to know the keyboard command for, you can simply roll over a tool and wait until its description pops up, and at the end of the tool name, in parentheses, you will see the keyboard command for its shortcut. While working with the Pen tool or with the Selection tool, we can hold the Command key to toggle on the Direct Selection tool. If I were creating a shape and I needed to select off of this shape so that I can start using the Pen tool on a different shape, I can hold the Command key to toggle on the Direct Select tool, click off of that shape, and then continue on with the Pen tool. If you want to lock an object on your artboard, you can click on the object and hit Command 2 to lock that object. This will prevent you from accidentally manipulating that object or selecting it. To unlock all the objects on your artboard, hold Command Option 2, and that will unlock all locked objects. These are just a few of the many keyboard shortcuts in Adobe Illustrator. If there's a specific tool you use a lot or function you use a lot and you'd like to find out its keyboard shortcut, you can again just either roll over the tool to find that at the end of the descriptor that pops up, or along the top menu bar, any function that has a keyboard shortcut will show next to that function. For example, Command G or Shift Command G here for the ungroup and group functions. As you start using the program more, these keyboard shortcuts will become more and more natural, and you'll start working them into your workflow much more naturally and see your efficiency really increase within the program. For now, try to just focus on incorporating the first couple keyboard shortcuts that we went over in the beginning of the video, and then as you use tools more often, try to gradually work those shortcuts into your process.